Hello. Thanks again for tuning in to Minor League Fan Club, where we travel to baseball towns exploring minor league level ballparks and their cities. I'm your host, John Southey, Chief Minor League Fanatic. And in today's episode, we are traveling to Fort Wayne, Indiana, home of the Fort Wayne TinCaps in the Midwest League. The TinCaps, they are the high A affiliates of the San Diego Padres. The TinCaps play at Parkview Field, located downtown in Fort Wayne. The ballpark was opened in 2009. Parkview Field has been named number one fan experience and number one ballpark several times over the last several years. Their ballpark is named after the Parkview Health System, who purchased the naming rights for 10 years. The team, they're named after John Chapman, better known as Johnny Appleseed. The tin cap refers to the pot that is said to be worn on Johnny's head. John Chapman did live in Fort Wayne towards the end of his life and eventually passed away and was buried there. Fort Wayne, the city, is located in northern Indiana and is about 2 hours north of Indianapolis. Today's ballpark guide is going to be John Nolan. He's the play-by-play announcer as well as the media relations manager. Our fan guide is Logan Weening, who also owns Old Fort Baseball Co. And lastly, we have for a local business, Fuller Plants with Jessica Fuller. All right, let's start heading over to the ballpark. Hello, friends. On this week's episode, I would like to welcome John. He is the current play-by-play announcer and media relations manager for the TinCaps. John began his career with the TinCaps as an intern in 2013 and became the lead voice for the team in 2015. Welcome to the show, John. How are you?
Hey, John, I'm great. Thanks so much for the chance to join you. Appreciate you doing this.
Yes, I'm glad you could join us. I appreciate you coming on. So as I stated in the intro, Parkview Field has been open since 2009. I think your experience at the ballpark is really going to benefit us today in learning about the amenities that the ballpark has to offer. But the more I interview staff members of a team, the more I'm in awe and fascinated by cool jobs in sport. I kind of wish I knew about these kind of jobs when I was younger, but I think yours is pretty cool. So your journey through the ranks of broadcasting has had a lot of fun and interesting stops. So when did you decide that you wanted to do sports for a living?
Yeah, well, first off, John, I think you do a fantastic job, and it's cool to help serve, the niche of great minor league baseball fans who love to go out and check out ballparks around this wonderful country. And in terms of my story as a sports broadcaster, and I think it sounds like a lot of sports broadcasters have a similar journey here to this point. And it starts with being a kid growing up who loved sports, playing sports all the time. Once upon a time, I thought I was destined to be the next Michael Jordan, or my first favorite big league player was Mike Piazza. But maybe a strength of mine is having some self-awareness. So by the time I was in middle school, I knew I wasn't cut out to be a D1 athlete like you were, right, as a runner. And so at some point there around middle school, I don't know exactly where the idea came from, but it dawned on me that there professional sports broadcasters. And so I had that in mind since I was in middle school, and I've stayed focused on it ever since. And like you touched upon, it's definitely a fun career. It doesn't feel like work. There's plenty of sacrifices that come with it. But yeah, really fortunate to be working here for the Fort Wayne TinCaps.
That's awesome. Yeah, like I said, I wish I had a little bit of that encouragement because I think maybe I would have done something more in sports. But because I was very passionate about sports when I was a kid, I think I remember started watching Sports Center when I was 8 back in the early 90s. So I've really loved sports since forever. But what has been your most memorable moment as an announcer so far?
Yeah, and similarly, I can relate, before kindergarten, waking up and watching Sports Center, and then, if time allowed, watch it again. And in terms of my career here, well, I've been, yeah, blessed to have lots of great experiences. I mean, outside of working here for the TinCaps, I also called games for the Pacers G League team, which previously was based in Fort Wayne, now out of Indianapolis. Also here in Northeast Indiana, work for Purdue Fort Wayne, cover high school sports, the Horizon League. But anyway, I guess to step outside of baseball, I got to call the G League All-Star
Yeah.
game this past February, as that was here in
Oh, cool.
Indiana. So that was a pretty neat experience working with the NBA. And then, yeah, I mean, talking about here working for the TinCaps, we've had so many top prospects come through. Fernando Tatis Jr. played more games as a minor leaguer here in Fort Wayne than anywhere else in his career so far. So when he was 18 years old in 2017, kind of getting to be ahead of the curve and knowing just how special of a player Toddy is. That's definitely a top moment from that season too.
Yeah, that's awesome. I live in San Antonio, so that's our connection there. We're the double A
Yep.
affiliates of the Padres, and you guys are the single A. So I actually got to see him do his rehab assignment. I think it was 2 seasons ago. So that was pretty
Mhm.
cool. So one last question before we head over to the ballpark. Who's your dream interview?
A dream interview. That is a very good question. I mean, if we can go, let's say all time,
Mhm.
not necessarily still with us here, I'll say Jackie Robinson.
Yeah, that would be a great one. Yeah, and to learn all what he had done or what he had, went through. Yeah, for sure. All right. So, John, one of my favorite things about minor league level baseball is all the unique amenities each individual ballpark has to offer. Okay. So, I enjoy researching each new ballpark before I go and trying to find the little quirks and individual personalities that make each stadium special. So, I never really saw Parkview Field until I began researching the episode. Immediately went to the top of my list. Want to go there for sure. From the facade to the fact that there is a park located right inside the ballpark. So let's start there. From a research perspective, I couldn't tell if the game is it visible from that park at the back of the stadium? Can you watch a game from there?
Yeah, so Parkview Field, in partnership with the city of Fort Wayne, truly is a public park. And so, as we talk right now, for example, the Tin Caps do not have a home game tonight or this week, and yet the ballpark gates are open. Basically, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. The ballpark gates are open, and so the community can come on through. 3 laps around the concourse is a mile, so you get plenty
Oh,
of walkers and runners. Some folks, even the local YMCA, they'll come over here with boot camp classes and run the
oh wow.
stairs, or out in the center field concourse amphitheater area, do push-ups and other
Wow.
exercises out there. And then, yeah, specifically, there is a park section with some cool artwork, and it's beautifully maintained with fresh flowers here in the spring and summer. And so, yeah, one of the features here that makes Parkview feel a little bit more unique and really is a testament to how this is a community gathering place is the fact that the ballpark is a park. And so, yeah, in addition, we have, one of the sections of the venue is picnic pavilion. And so,
Mm.
and you'll find folks who are working here in the downtown neighborhood looking to enjoy some fresh air. Sometimes they'll walk over with their lunch and sit down and enjoy it here at the ballpark. So yeah, it's one of the cool features here of Parkview Field that makes it one of the best spots in the entire country.
Man, that is so cool. Like I don't think I know any other ballpark that's like that. That's really neat that they put it right downtown and then you can say, "Hey, we're going over to the ballpark and just have a seat for a little while." That is so cool.
Yeah, even another example of how it's utilized in the warm weather is out in that center field concourse area. There's what we would call a splash pad.
Mm.
So sprinklers, more or less, fountain space, and so kids will come out here in their bathing suits to cool down during the warm days. And yeah, so you
Oh, wow.
regularly we'll see whether there's a game going on later
Yeah.
that day or not. Fans will come in here to just have fun.
So is the splash pad open during the game? Like the kids can go to the game and to the splash pad at the same time?
Yes, it is. And it's a safe spot, so it's like 550, 600 feet away. So I don't think
Oh,
even
okay.
even Tatis didn't park a home run all the
Yeah.
way out there. But yeah, it's pretty spacious in the
Okay.
outfield park area. Mhm.
Awesome. All right. So usually a park usually has, or a ballpark, I should say, has maybe one, two unique places to sit when you buy a ticket. But this park, they built it with so many different awesome vantage points. Can you talk about some of those different vantage points at the park?
For sure. No, and you're exactly right. It's really incredible. And tickets start at just $7 for the lawn seats here at Parkview Field, and even to be down behind the dugouts or behind home plate, you're only talking about $10, $12 for
Wow.
those great views. And as we talk for those who are watching the video of this, if I'm gazing out to my left, it's just as I'm at the ballpark right now, so I'm just looking out through through the window, but.
Yeah.
I mentioned the picnic pavilion, so there's picnic tables in the right field corner area. That's one unique spot. Out in right field, we have what we call the treetops, the Parkview Sports Medicine treetops. They're kind of reminiscent of the rooftop seats that you would find across the street from Wrigley Field. So the treetop seats, which are high up because it's actually an extension of a parking garage
Oh, right.
where a lot of fans will park here for games. And that's a section that's a group area, just like the picnic pavilion. And so you can have a fun time with a group of folks up there, and you got your own food and drink service as well. Really unique would be our US Foods 400 Club and the Summit. So the 400 Club, because to dead center field here at the ballpark, it's 400 feet. And so this is an enclosed, I guess you'd call it luxury group space.
Yeah.
And there are special windows so that can withstand a home run to straightaway center field.
Hmm.
And so fans can literally look right through the glass down on the center fielder and the game action in front of them. If you have a ticket for that space, you also get an outdoor patio area. So, you got to get the best of both worlds depending on the weather, whether you need to
Yeah.
be inside to stay warm or stay cool. And then you can also be outside too. And so, yeah, out of all the ballparks in the country, minor league, major league, that is the only space that doubles as both the batter's eye. It's a dark
Hmm.
backdrop, so it serves as the batter's eye and as that group space. There are some similar suites at Yankee Stadium and at Great American Ballpark in Cincinnati, but they have a little bit of a gap between the outfield fence and then those structures. So here it's the only one
Okay.
that's built directly into the wall. And then above that, I mentioned the Summit. So that's kind of a party deck on top
Yeah.
of it. So awesome sight lines of the field, and for that matter, of the downtown Fort Wayne skyline, which is just behind it. Um, we have a home run porch out in left field. In the left field corner, we have our Toyota field boxes. So those are high top tables where you have a server come
Okay.
to your seats, so you never have to miss any of the action as you get your food and your drink. Then we have our suites up top, even again a section of seats downstairs we call legacy seats directly behind home plate. You can get a food and drink rail. We have that in the home run section as well. So yeah, those are maybe in some places you consider those more like big league
Yeah.
features, like the monster seats at Fenway, for instance, come to mind, similar to that. And then, up top again, we have another group area, University of St. Francis suite level loft. So another one where you get your own food and drink service, and
Gosh.
you have pretty ideal view from the first base side. So yeah, as you mentioned as we started talking about this, you come to Parkview Field 10 different times and potentially get 10
Yeah.
unique
Yeah.
perspectives of the venue.
See, the way you explain that, it's just hard to believe that Parkview's just a single A ballpark. I mean, from the looks of it, I think it could easily pass as at very minimum double A park with all that seating and even the location being at the heart of downtown.
Yeah, you
Uh,
might be familiar with Stadium Journey. So that's
mhm,
a
mhm.
publication and an online site that has a rating system that evaluates not just baseball venues, but
Right.
every sport,
Mhm.
and not just in the United States, even globally. And so for more than a decade now, in their annual rankings of minor league ballparks, Parkview Field has almost annually been number one across all
Yeah.
levels, not just the best among single or high A venues, but best across the board. And it's hard to believe that this is actually the 15th anniversary season of Parkview Field here in 2024. So, over the last decade and a half, there have been at least 15. I don't know the exact count, maybe a couple dozen newer ballparks, and yet nothing has topped this. So it's just really incredible. Just how well it was put together. And I mentioned a couple of those sections, the 400 Club and the Summit. Those were actually added on in 2013 and 2016, respectively. So a testament to how the ballpark doesn't rest on its laurels. Our ownership group, Hardball Capital, has continued to invest in the ballpark and can just constantly every year sprucing it up, enhancing sections. We have the ProFed Credit Union Concourse Suites. That's another thing that was installed along the way. So you could be on the concourse and have a bricked in private area, again, with food and drink service. So it's all amazing. And then just to reiterate, just the affordability of it too, not only the get in price starting at $7, but if you want to be in one of the exclusive group areas, your ticket and then all you can eat, all you can drink, including alcohol, probably is less than it costs to park at Wrigley Field a few hours away, or at this point, a lot of big league spots. So it's really second to none here. And again, the average person, and understandably wouldn't guess that Fort Wayne, Indiana would have the best ballpark in the entire country. I grew up in New Jersey. I went to school in New York. I didn't know about Parkview Field before I first came out here, but it's facts. Baseball America, the last time that they did a ranking of ballparks, they had Parkview Field in the top 5. Objectively speaking, because I do have my degree in journalism, so I'm not just objectively speaking, Parkview Field is it's just second to none in terms of the design. And then I think what puts it again over the top two would just be the what they call here in Indiana, the Hoosier hospitality, and just commitment to serving fans. That's right up there with Disney or Chick-fil-A or wherever else you feel like you get great customer service. There's a great dedication to that here.
Yeah, that's great. And I also noticed, so they, like you said, they just really are dedicated to this team. And I even noticed it on the food offerings, like that's even leveled up. In fact, when I was looking online, the second page link is food and beverages. So it goes team and then it goes food and beverage. So I haven't seen that in any other team yet. So even the first line on the PDF says, the food at Parkview is unmatched. So I'm intrigued. Yeah, if you heard in the other shows, that's what I talk about, food. I love the food. So I don't know how much you get to eat at the ballpark, but can you share what kinds of foods you can find there?
Yes, and funny you bring that up. I probably don't get to enjoy the great food and drinks that we have as much as our fans, because I'm usually in kind of hustle mode leading up to game time, and then my seat calling the game for all 9 innings. And your didn't catch your intro to this. Did you mention the origins of the team name as far as the Apple logo?
Just a little bit, And
so again, the team name's an ode to John Chapman, aka Johnny Appleseed, who once upon a time was here in Fort Wayne. For instance, one thing you're not going to find at any other ballpark or stadium around the country would be an apple cart. And so you can get apple themed dessert items, especially an apple tart or apple crisp. You can get apple pie. So, in terms of your sweets, you're certainly covered there. One thing too, as we talk about minor league baseball teams having fun with alternate identities, last year we debuted a new brand as the Hoosier State Tenderloins. And so the pork breaded tenderloin sandwich is a delicacy throughout the Midwest, but its origins are from the Fort Wayne area. So we'll have a weekend now every season where we've got the breaded tenderloin sandwich on the menu. Last year, our food and beverage staff that does such a great job, I forget the exact number, but they had ordered hundreds, maybe close to 1,000 for the course of the weekend. And in night one, it was just about sold out. So they had to go
Holy
into
cow.
a little emergency mode to get a new order in like overnight. But yeah, people love that for those games that we have here. But yeah, there's great diversity.
Yeah.
When we were growing up, you go to the ballpark and do you want a hot dog, a burger, chicken tenders,
Right.
and maybe pizza was like, oh wow, they've got it all.
Yeah.
Well, you can get all that and more. Including, I think you're a healthy, fit guy, right? So I
I
like
try to be.
you can get a black bean burger here. Of course, you can get grilled chicken sandwiches and salads, and uh, our staff does a great job actually of having a menu that caters those with different dietary needs, so whether it's gluten free or catering to certain allergies to dairy and whatnot. So yeah,
Oh, wow. Okay.
incredible selection. And
Yeah.
as we talk now, reminding myself I've got to try to figure out a way to enjoy more of it
Yeah. Yeah.
through the course of the season.
So I guess they do live up to that statement. It's certainly unmatched for sure. Yeah, that's awesome. So, John, I saw you went to Syracuse University, which is the home of the Syracuse Orange.
Hmm.
And I thought that was kind of funny and ironic that you now work for a team whose identity has to do with apples.
Yeah.
So uh, instead of comparing apples to oranges, I wanted to try comparing apples to apples. So, like you said, the TinCaps name derives from John Chapman, aka Johnny Appleseed. Some may think that his story's a myth, but in fact, he was a real person who did live in Fort Wayne and passed away in Fort Wayne. The mascot for the TinCaps is also named Johnny. Now, I think that's even more ironic that your name is John too, so that's a little bit funny, you know. So, how would you say Johnny the mascot compares to Johnny Appleseed the person?
Yeah, and so Johnny Tin Cap here, very popular mascot. So right away, starting to work for the team, very humbling. I know whenever someone's calling for Johnny, that's what some of my friends or family would call me. I
Yeah.
had to learn real early on that no one cares about me here. It's about the mascot. Yeah, Johnny Tin Cap. He's one of your friendlier mascots, and so super popular with kids and fans are always looking for photos here. We have designated innings where Johnny's available to take pictures, meet and greet with fans, and really popular throughout the community. Again, one of the reasons why the Tin Caps, not only have this great ballpark, but fill this ballpark up and are among the highest attended teams in all of minor league baseball. Again, it's a high A team, but last year we outdrew 25 of 30 double A teams. We outdrew about a third of triple A teams. And so Johnny is a regular out in the community, attending events, whether it's at schools as part of our Care Source reading program
Wow.
or festivals throughout the spring and summer. And even that's a year round, Halloween, trick or treating events, stuff, of course, during the holidays. So, yeah, Johnny is is Mr. Fort Wayne.
Yeah.
You'll find him throughout Fort Wayne and the greater Northeast Indiana, even into Northwest Ohio neighborhoods.
Oh, awesome. Very good. Okay. All right. I have one last question for the sake of time. And before we get out of here, there's only so much research that I can honestly do before I visit a ballpark. Sometimes I'm sad to miss certain amenities. So, for example, last year I went to see the Everett Aqua Sox, but got home later, a few months down the road, found out there's a plaque outside of the Everett Aqua Sox Stadium where Ken Griffey Jr. hit his first home run and it landed. I was like, I would have loved to at least taken a picture, stood by it, read it. But can you think of any can't miss amenities at this ballpark that we probably haven't talked about?
Yes, and first a thing that comes to mind here, just to fill people in on sort of the origins here for the franchise. So from 1993 through 2008, the team was known as the Fort Wayne Wizards. Originally a Twins affiliate through 98, and then with the Padres ever since. But the Wizards played at Memorial Stadium, located about 10-15 minutes away from where the ballpark is here downtown. And just coincidentally, that's where Alex Rodriguez, as a visiting player, hit the first home run of his professional
Oh,
baseball career. Just when
okay.
I think of Griffey, those Mariners
Yeah.
teams think of A-Rod too.
Yeah.
So with that, a thing you probably would see if you're out here at Parkview Field, while we're describing it as a very modern ballpark, there are some great tributes to Fort Wayne's baseball history. So every section sign has a photo associated with either a past team or individual, and not even just those who've played for the team, but for instance, Ford Frick, one of the first commissioners of baseball,
Yeah.
the award that they give out in Cooperstown to iconic broadcasters is named after Ford Frick. He's originally from Northeast Indiana. So stuff like that you'll find with that in mind too. In our suite level, especially, there are some cool photos. I brought up Jackie Robinson before. He actually visited Fort Wayne multiple times, and so there's a really cool photo of one of Jackie Robinson's visits here when he was also accompanied by the likes of Ted Williams and Bob Feller and Carl Erskine. So I think that's pretty incredible to have all those All-Stars, Hall of Famers gather here at a park that was just a couple miles from the ballpark. With that too, the Fort Wayne Daisies from the All-American Girls Professional Baseball League and several members of the Daisies truly were the inspiration for a league of their own, even though the Rockford Peaches are the team that's highlighted in the movie. Some of the characters really were based off the Daisies. One thing that comes to mind too, though, as far as being a little bit more fun, and if you got kids, another amazing feature here is that the batting cages are concourse level, and there's actually like garage doors as the windows that separate the batting cage area with the concourse. But with warm weather, those garage doors are up, and so fans can be just at arm's reach away as guys are getting in some extra swings before the game. So I don't think I've seen any other professional ballpark that gives you the opportunity to truly look in and see. And of course, then you might be able to get an autograph there. Even and I could keep going here. I don't know what our time limit is here on the episode, but some other outstanding things that team does, thinking along the lines of fans and kids and interaction. But after all of our Sunday games, the entire team goes out to right field, and fans can get autographs. So anytime you come to the ballpark, if you time it right before or after a game, you can probably get a signature. But to be able to get basically the entire team and get to be on the field, and the field is so well maintained by our grounds crew, that in itself is just like a special experience to be on that turf. But that's awesome. That's presented by Midwest Box Breaks, and that's a card trading company that distributes free cards to kids at games too. And I think things that I think people here would probably take for granted now, but I know are just not the norm elsewhere, would be you can run the bases here after every single game. Usually that's, a cool thing for a team to perhaps do once a week or once a month or once a season. Here, literally every single game. It can be a Tuesday in April, and you get to run the bases after the game. This season, we have 31 post-game fireworks shows. I haven't been able to tally up every other team in the country, but I don't think anyone else has 30 plus post-game fireworks shows. So that's virtually every Friday and Saturday. And then we've got most Thursdays, and sometimes again, even Tuesdays, and a Sunday night special. So just really incredible opportunities for fans in those regards.
Awesome. Well, John, I want to thank you so much for being our ballpark guy for this episode. I could probably ask you a ton more questions, but I want to be respectful of our viewers and listeners as well. But in the meantime, if people wanted to follow you on social media, where could they find you?
Yeah, I'm at John, JOHN _G Nolan, NOLAN on pretty much all social media outlets. So I would love to hear from fans or interact with fans. And again, thank you. Do an awesome job here with the podcast, and
thank you.
Really telling the story, not just of the ballpark, but of the team and of the community. And so, here just in closing, it's been terrific that since the ballpark opened in 2009, it served as a catalyst for a big renaissance for downtown Fort Wayne. So this is one of the top rated cities in the entire Midwest now, especially among what would be considered a medium-sized city. So as we talk about the ballpark expanding and growing here in the last 15 years, the downtown skyline has been growing as well. And so it's really cool to see how a professional baseball team here in the minor leagues can be part of redevelopment for an entire region. And again, the fans here do a incredible job of supporting the team and everyone working together just to make it a better place to live, work, and play, and get to see future major leaguers.
Awesome. Thank you once again for coming on today. That's awesome. I had a lot of fun. I wish we could keep going and going, but
Yeah, well, hope to continue the conversation when you make your way out here and you get a little scouting report on which guys are coming your way to San Antonio
Yes.
on their way to San Diego.
Awesome. Well, I'll be sure to say hello when I get up there. Well, thank you very much, John. You take care.
See you, John.
Hello. Welcome to this week's Fan Guide segment, where today I have Logan Weaning to show us around Parkview Field in the city of Fort Wayne. Welcome, Logan. It's a pleasure to have you on the show. How's it going?
Hey, John, it's good. Glad to be on.
Yes, I'm glad to have you finally here. I know we've been talking about this for a very long time, and
for sure.
ever since I said I want to start this podcast about road trips, and you jumped right on, and I'm like, it's coming.
Yeah.
And here we are, months later. Let's. I won't cut that out, but it's been months since I told Logan I'm going to start this. But I'm just happy to be able to talk to you about your beloved TinCaps, formerly known as the Wizards, and your city of Fort Wayne. I've heard you do other interviews for shows, and I know how much you love your team and your city. So thank you for sharing your insight with us, and so we can be able to enjoy Fort Wayne and all it has to offer. But before we get into you showing us around the ballpark, can you briefly tell us a little bit about Old Fort Baseball Company and what connects you to minor league level baseball? And lastly, what the TinCaps mean to you?
Yeah, so Old Fort Baseball Co. is, we're an apparel brand based here in Fort Wayne. Really started just basically trying to celebrate baseball history here in Fort Wayne. There's a lot of really unique and untold baseball history here in the community, and really just trying to spotlight that's kind of what started, and it's grown into spotlighting other sports and baseball across the country with our support local baseball initiative and different things in that area, really trying to just celebrate the game at levels that maybe go under the radar or that people might miss. So something like this, really touring the country, from a baseball perspective is really cool. As far as the TinCaps, baseball's always been very important to me, and I've grown up here, going to Wizards games and now TinCaps games, and it's truly an amazing asset to the community here. And truly, the TinCaps kind of kickstarted the growth in Fort Wayne that has made it the city it is now, not only in the downtown area, which is, close to where I live now and, where we do a lot of our business, but, just across the city. So it really has done amazing things and has led to businesses like ours being able to be successful.
Awesome. That sounds really cool. And I'm not sure, but I don't think you're not a brick and mortar yet, right?
No. So we do a farmer's market locally on Saturdays. This year it's the first time we're going to do every week throughout the summer. So we'll be every Saturday. Cool. So we'll be out there, but a majority is online.
Very cool. Yeah. Do you have dreams of making it like a store, or what are you thinking?
It's a possibility, I think. We're definitely are looking at some different options in town as far as being able to stock some stuff in stores and things like that, as kind of the bridge to that. But it'd be awesome to be able to open something, especially, close to the field and tie it in with that for sure.
Very cool. Yeah. Anybody who has a clothing business, I'm always inspired by. That's how I evolved all the way to minor league fan club. So it's very inspiring. I love seeing your growth over the last several years.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome. I started a series on TikTok a couple years ago called Coolest Minor League Baseball Stadium Amenity. And basically it was just highlighting the cool things around a ballpark. But every single video, a comment would say, you have to go to Fort Wayne. You have to go see that ballpark. You have to. I post another one, Fort Wayne. I did a AI thing one time on TikTok, top 10 stadium. Fort Wayne came up.
Oh man, the Fort Wayne people came in there and they're like, of course we are on there, right? And I'm like, I really need to go check this place out, I think. But then when I was doing some research for this episode, I I noticed, man, that is a beautiful ballpark. It moved up to my top 5 list of places I need to go. But one of the things I noticed is that it resembled Camden Yards. And in my research, found out the people who designed Camden Yards designed Parkview Field. I was like, well, that's no
Yeah,
wonder. It's a beautiful field. Both of them,
right.
I like them. Right. So, in your opinion, Parkview Field, they've been rated #1 ballpark, #1 ballpark experience. What makes this field so special, and why do I have to go?
I think from a purely the ballpark point of view, I'm spoiled in that I go to the park all the time, and that's kind of been home for going on 15 plus years now at this point. It opened in 2009. So, some of the things I think we might in for Fort Wayne take for granted, but really it was early on in the game of having the 360 concourse, the, kind of dugout field where, you're walking in above the field to where you're walking down into all the seats.
Hmm.
The grass berms in the outfield, the sight lines are incredible. Really anywhere in the stadium is a great place to watch baseball. So really I think that's what gets people's attention when they come in, is it truly, and then the view of the downtown skyline, right over the outfield. So if you're sitting behind home plate, you're looking out over the skyline of Fort Wayne,
Mhm.
which is really cool. And, they've done everything right with that stadium, between the way that the team store is laid out and the way that they have concessions set up, all of the extra food vendors that they have. One really unique seating area that they have is, it's called the Treetops,
Mhm.
which I think a lot of people now, people may have copied that or, done similar things. I know South Bend has done a similar thing, but there's a parking garage in right field, and kind of up on top of an event center, they have almost like a Wrigley Field rooftop
Oh, right.
situation that's like a group seating area where you can do events and have food catered and all that. So that's a really cool vantage point that you don't usually get at a minor league park from up high in an outfield.
Yeah,
So
right.
that's very unique for sure.
Very cool. And is that something that you pay for, or is it because for the other venue that you pay to go over there and it's just
No,
there?
so it's part of the field. So it's usually a
Oh,
group area.
okay.
On occasion they'll open it up just to general tickets, but
Yeah.
so I've sat up there a few times just on lucky chances that they've had it open.
Oh, cool.
But usually it's for larger groups, and it's sold out most games, I think.
Yeah, right, right. Awesome. And those are the kind of seats that I love looking for. So, what is your recommendation for the best seating? Like for me, if I go with my wife, I say, let's find the coolest seats for the day. And because when I go with her, I'll wander by myself and she'll sit for a little bit. She'll wander with me for a little while, but then we'll sit. But if I'm by myself, it doesn't matter. I'll buy the cheapest berm
Yeah.
seating ticket and I'm just walking around. But let's say I was going with her, where would you recommend sitting? And then if I was to go by myself, where would you recommend?
Truly, there isn't, like I mentioned, there's not a bad seat.
Mhm.
Usually when I go, it's either if I'm going by myself or with my dad, or we're really going to sit and watch the game. Um, a lot of times, if we're going earlier in the week when it's not as busy, it's still usually pretty busy, but not as busy. We try to sit as close as we can, usually right behind the dugout, um, so that we're able to just kind of, you got a really good sight line. You're usually out of the sun, so if it's hot, that's always a plus. But then being able to just be down close to the dugout, it's kind of fun to be able to not necessarily interact with the players, but kind of hear them talk and hear the coaches talk and things like that's always interesting. If I'm
Cool.
going, more with family or friends, we usually do a lot of lawn seating. You're able to kind of just walk around, sit out in the grass. One of the sides of the berm has concrete stairs,
Okay.
kind of like tiered, so you're able to really actually sit and have a comfortable seat. You're not just necessarily lounged in the grass. So that's really nice, and so we do that quite a bit. And it's much more of a social atmosphere out there, and that's a lot of fun too.
Yeah, I like those seats. I think the only other place I've seen that so far that off the top of my mind is Jacksonville. They have that tiered seating. You can kind of sit in the outfield. So that's a nice addition compared to just that flat. Because after a while, my back, it just can't take it.
Right. Well, the plus side to it for like families is kids are able to not be stuck in a seat. But then if you're actually sitting out there watching the game, you have kids rolling past you constantly and some of that. So the concrete steps kind of block some of that out too.
Yeah, very cool. So I know most people they listen to this podcast know what the TinCaps are, but for those who don't, a TinCap, basically the team was named after Johnny Appleseed and how he used to wear his little pot on his head. Of course, throughout the stadium, a lot of apple themed. When I was looking up the food, there's a lot of apple themed foods on the menu. So what's a must-have apple themed menu item that you think, and then a non-apple themed one?
So from an apple theme, the apple dumplings that they have is a big hit, I think. Getting that with ice cream, that's a unique Ballpark item. They used to have early on, they had an apple cider that was very good, like a cold apple cider. That I always enjoyed because that was before I was 21, so I would be able to go, and everyone always thought I had a beer in my hand because I would get one of those. But they were really good, but they don't have that anymore. Outside of that, really they've got a lot of good options. I've always been a fan of the nachos. They have like a nacho cart that does really good nachos, and they do like the helmet nachos and things like that. So that's always been a winner for me. I'm more of a standard concession guy, so I'm more of a pretzel and a pop kind of guy. But I also live so close to the park that it's usually an eat before you go situation.
Right. Is there like a regional food there that they might serve? Like, what is the regional food there?
So the regional food that they usually lean on is the tenderloin, the pork tenderloin, which is what they've played as. Last year was the first year as the tenderloins as an alternate identity. Right. I'm not even sure if they have one. They probably added one when they did the identity, but they don't really have like a super local. The apple themed cart and all of the apple desserts and things is really the main local.
That's pretty cool.
Themed concession item for sure.
Yeah, I like how they really dig into that apple theme. That's pretty cool. Now we're going to imagine that we're coming to the stadium. So from my understanding, when the ballpark was built, opened in 2009, like you said, the parking garage was built in mind prior to construction. So since this is a downtown ballpark, do you recommend parking in that garage, or are there some other reasonable places to park?
So right outside of the stadium, you have the garage, which is really nice. But then they also have multiple lots, just open air lots that are, I think they're $5 or $6. That are literally right at the stadium, that are super easy, usually don't fill up between that and the garage. So both of those are really solid options. If you know your way around or exploring the city, they're one thing that's nice about Fort Wayne because of its size. Nights and weekends, street parking's free. So I usually go. Free. Yeah, I usually will park a couple blocks away and just walk over. If you know where you're going and you're comfortable with that, that's a good option as well. But if you're, as far as standard parking, it's super easy, super affordable. Like I said, $5 or $6 right at the stadium.
Cool.
So.
Yeah, I know that's not really a secret, but I like that you highlight like the weekends and stuff and the nights being free, because that's some things that we need to know when we go there, that don't jump in that garage because you're probably going to get stuck for a little while, where you could just park, somewhere down the street and be okay. Where would you recommend possibly staying? Like, do you stay right downtown? Because I'm thinking of driving to the game. I'll probably rent a car or something. How do I get to the game? Is it only driving a car there, or do you take public transportation? Do I stay far away?
No, it's going to be driving. There's 2 hotels connected to the stadium right in the outfield that overlook the stadium. So it's super easy. from that point of view. And then the one of them, technically both of them are connected to that parking garage as well.
Okay.
So you can really kind of do it all right in that one area. And then there's another hotel like right around the corner too.
Okay.
So really there's great options if you're coming in from out of town for games. I know that's what I met up with Paul Caputo when he was in town with his baseball palooza trip a couple of years ago, and they were staying just right in the outfield. So it makes it really nice for. And there's a good little tiki bar right outside in the outfield that's usually open in the summer times that people go to right before the game, because you're able to literally go there and it's 100 feet to the gate, so you can kind of do that in the hotel and all that right in one.
That's so awesome. And it's weird, it's one of my bucket list things, just to stay at hotels that like connect to the stadium. And I've never done it yet, and I've been to a couple of places and I'm like, oh, I didn't know that hotel was connected to that. And then but no, again, that's those kind of things that I like to know beforehand, that I can at least know that, hey, I could probably possibly look out my window and catch 2 games, one there and then out the window next night.
And then there's also the one hotel has a rooftop bar that overlooks the stadium as well. So you're able to see, you're pretty far away, but you can still see the game from there too.
What's going on. Yeah. I love that. I love those kind of hotels.
From a ballpark traveler standpoint, really it's just a great stadium to kind of walk around and take in. There aren't really any, it doesn't have the lazy river. It doesn't have any of those, crazy standout things. As far as for local fans and families, there's, a rock wall and there's a splash pad in the outfield and things like that are all really great for families. But just for regular fans, really, it is a very, for as modern of a park as it is and as great as it is, you get, if you want it, you can get a very pure baseball experience.
I'm glad to hear that. Well, I appreciate you walking us around the ballpark, but I'm kind of ready to explore Fort Wayne now. Like I normally do. I before I travel to a city, I dig in and I try to find the hidden gems. I try to find the highlights. But, the reason why I like having the fan guide is because there's things I'm probably going to miss that, Google's only going to highlight the big things. I want to know some of the smaller things. But, when I was looking it up, I noticed that there's a lot of similarities of Fort Wayne and San Antonio, which I thought was a little weird, like the riverfront and the Mural Trail. And then the TinCaps affiliation with the Padres, of course.
Yep.
So I haven't been to the TinCaps yet, but so that's why I don't have their hat. So I'm wearing the San Antonio Missions hat tonight with you. So I put a little thought into it. Yeah. But so until I can get to the ballpark, I can't buy their hat. So I do want to get theirs. Can you talk a little bit about the river front and the Mural Trail a little bit?
So
what you know about it?
The riverfront is a really cool area right now in Fort Wayne. It's pretty new still. A lot of that land has been developed in the past 5 years. There's a new park, Promenade Park, that was built right along the river. That's a great, public area to kind of walk around. There is like a little bar there, some event space and stuff, and condos and things that overlook it. Super nice, especially like early in the morning, walking along the river, kind of sunrise and then sunset and things like that. Always really nice. So that area is really great. And it's continuing to expand. I think they just broke ground on the second phase of it recently. That's kind of just a little farther north, but still in the downtown portion. So it's the one thing about Fort Wayne is every year, for you that you don't make it up here, it's only going to get better because there just continues to be more growth and more additions. But then the public art downtown is very cool. There has been a lot of push in the past, I'd say 10 or 15 years, of real unique and really cool art installations, just kind of painted on the sides of buildings. There's some alleys that have really been done up with murals and things. So if you're an art person and you really like murals and street art and that sort of stuff, there is a lot of really cool, murals and things that you'll find not necessarily in a specific area, but just kind of as you walk through town, there definitely is a lot of that you'll see and be able to look at and take in.
Awesome. Yeah, that's one of my favorite things to do is go mural hunting when I'm in a different town. I think all the cities that are doing it, it's really unique to the city, and you can learn a lot just by what the art that people are putting up about the city. It's pretty cool. One of the biggest reasons why I like to have fans come on as well is because I'm a foodie and I need to know what the best places to eat and what to eat. So that being said, what are some of your recommendations of places to try?
Yeah, so there's one that is easy, located at the ballpark. It's called Powers Hamburgers. It is a very small dive burger place, similar to like a White Castle style. That's right outside of the ballpark. That's kind of a fun stop. Not one I go to a ton, but I know it's very popular and it's a cool spot. Then there's Coney Island hot dogs that are very close by. This is all kind of located close downtown within a couple miles. It's a hot dog place that's been open for probably close to 100 years at this point. Traditional Coney Island hot dogs. So that's really good. And there's a lot of good nicer restaurants as well. There's a portion called The Landing, which is a little farther. It's closer to that riverfront area, where if you're more into, I wouldn't say fancy dining, but a little nicer sit down restaurants. There's a lot of restaurants right there and some bars and things. So that's a really good option. So if you kind of get to that area, there's always new stuff coming and new restaurants in that area. So those are kind of the big wins if you're coming to town. And then also the last one it's a Irish pub called J.K. O'Donnell's.
Okay.
That's close to the park as well. That's where me and the baseball mapper guys went there before the game last year when they were in town. So they really enjoyed it. So,
you were the first person that I thought of when you mentioned pub. I'm like, oh, that's for baseball mapper guys.
Yes. Yeah,
definitely. Thank you. All right. Appreciate that. So on the other hand, when sometimes got to take the kids, what kind of cool things are to do for kids? Obvious places, but maybe some hidden gems.
Yeah. So downtown, one really good one is there's a science museum called Science Central. That's a very popular destination, kind of the place that everybody's gone as a kid and field trips and things, but they've got a lot of really cool exhibits. And Fort Wayne has one of the best children's zoos in the country. So that's another really good stop if you're in town with kids. It's a great zoo, definitely. It's another one of those things that I think growing up in Fort Wayne, you don't realize how great it is, because you're just like that. You just think that's what all zoos are, and then when people that are not from Fort Wayne go and can really vouch for how good it is, you realize how important that is to have. So that's a good stop for sure.
Cool. And I know exactly what you mean. When I go back home to Binghamton, I noticed the beauty nowadays when I go back. It's a very small town, but then you go back and you're like, that mountain is really nice, Yeah.
There's very a lot of that with Fort Wayne. The growth, the rapid growth has made it where people that have grown up here might not necessarily, because we still remember when there was nothing downtown. And that was 15, 20 years ago. So, now when people come that are not from Fort Wayne or haven't been to Fort Wayne in a long time, they're so impressed with the city and the size of the city, and they think it's a great place. So it's nice to get that feedback from people who aren't here every day as well. But it's definitely a great place to visit.
And it keeps popping up. I know, in articles for me, Google suggests articles. Fort Wayne just keep popping up. Just people are just moving there. I do see that. So since it is growing, but you've been there forever, what kind of yearly events do you look forward to, like in the summer or spring, to schedule baseball trips around if I was to come? What do I have to make sure to see?
Not an annual event, but hopefully it'll be an annual event. But one thing that we've got going this summer with Old Fort Baseball is we're doing a vintage showcase. So it's going to be a vintage baseball game. in town, downtown. It's actually it is the day of a TinCaps game. So there is a
Okay.
game later that evening. But that's going to be an opportunity for families and fans to come out and kind of see, 1800s baseball and things. It's a free event. Where we're going to have some teams from central and northern Indiana out to play a game, and we're going to have giveaways and lots of activities and food trucks and things like that. So that's one that I have a particular interest in.
Yeah.
But other than that, in the summer, Three Rivers Festival is a very popular festival. It's in July, where that's kind of just the city's big staple event, where you do the parade and you've got the carnival rides and all that sort of stuff. And there's a lot of good street food vendors and things like that. So that's a good one. And then also there's a really, really popular German fest. I think that's in June.
Okay.
That people really, really always enjoy. Just kind of, again, downtown, being able to there's live music and cheap beer and brats and all the standard German things. So
after all the snow's melted, you want to get out there and outdoors, right?
Yeah,
I know exactly. I had that feeling for sure. Those are the kind of things that I kind of look for and try to schedule events around. So I'll have to, when I put a schedule together for Fort Wayne, I'll have to look into those ones. But you know what, Logan? I want to thank you very much tonight for everything you've shared. You've certainly cut down my future research, and I'm sure some of the listeners and viewers, you cut down theirs. So I do hope that one day that we can meet up and catch a game as well. But until then, where can we find you online?
Yeah, so you can find us at oldfortbaseballco.com, and then follow us on Instagram at oldfortbaseballco and on Twitter at oldfortbballco.
Yeah, so everyone, please check out Logan's cool designs in his shop. There are some really good classic designs that he puts together and really brings to life Fort Wayne. And I really, like I said, am inspired by whatever you're doing and everything you're doing for Old Fort Baseball Co. But one more thing about that is you just started a Sticker of the Month Club, right? So would you mind really quick talking about the Sticker of the Month Club?
Yeah, so the sticker clubs are a really exciting thing for us. I used to be a part of a similar sticker club with lower league soccer teams, and I always thought it was really fun. So I wanted to put something similar together for baseball. So basically, what it is, for $6 a month, you get up to, or a minimum of 4 stickers and a postcard from a variety of baseball teams, organizations, companies, creators, different things from across the country. And some of the featured ones are going to be Baseball Mapper and Pat Larson's MILB Hat History series and Baseball Bucket List and the Ballpark Hunter podcast. But then we've got future months that are going to be kind of themed out. So we have a Northwoods League month. That's going to have some teams from the Northwoods League. We're going to have teams from the Pecos League, some things with the National Baseball Congress World Series, different things like that. So, it's always going to be something different and something exciting every month. As somebody who, likes to buy hats and different things from minor league teams, stickers are always a great option because they're much more affordable to pick up logos and things from different teams around the country. And hopefully you can learn something about some new organizations and new teams too. And that's kind of the hope, is to expand awareness for some of these groups as well.
I think it's a great idea. So if you guys love stickers, can't beat $6 a month. So definitely check that out as well. Sure. Again, check out Old Fort Baseball Co. And Logan, thank you so much. And I do look forward to meeting up with you in the future. Appreciate you.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks, John.
All right. Take care.
You too.
Hey there! In this week's final segment, I have a fun one for us to consider when we are in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Today, I have Jessica Fuller with Fuller Plants. Welcome to the show, Jessica. How are you today?
I'm so good. Thank you for having me.
I'm so glad to have you. But I want to say, I love your clever business name. It seems meant to be like that you went into the business of selling plants because Fuller is what plants are supposed to be. But if I sold
Absolutely.
plants, my business name would be Charlie Brown Christmas Tree Plants
Oh
because,
no.
like I know my wife, she sadly says I'm a plant killer, and I don't mean to be. I love plants.
Yeah,
So like when I go to the nurseries, I love looking at the brightly colored flowers. I love trees, especially evergreens and
sure.
house plants. They make me smile. But I'll leave them there, except for during like holiday time. I always buy the same plants over and over. But I think
Yeah,
plants deserve a better life, so I'll leave them there.
they do.
But
And like you're probably
yeah,
afraid to do anything besides look at them because you don't know where to start or you don't have experience or you've seen plant collectors on Instagram and it seems like an overwhelming hobby to get into.
oh my
So
gosh.
that's why I started my business was to help people uh get into the hobby who maybe feel like a little bit lost on where to start. So I focus on beginner friendly things
Mhm.
and plants that I can certainly offer tons of guidance with so people can come back to me for help if they need to.
Yeah, so that's what I saw in your about me page. It did say like you will probably help bring out the best in me and my plant. So that's pretty cool. But how did you get started? Like, how did you decide I'm gonna do a plant business? Because that's kind of different.
Yeah, absolutely. My very first plants were some aloe vera that my husband's mom gave me. I learned the hard way that if you repot aloe vera, you need to not water it for 2 to 3 weeks at least.
Oh,
So I had a big aloe vera plant with a lot of small plants on them, and I separated them all into different pots,
mhm.
soaked them, and they all died. They all rotted, every single one of them. But I looked at it like a problem I could solve because I knew that there's different factors that can be changed.
Mhm.
And just in that case, it was one Google that said aloe vera have sensitive roots and you need to give them time to heal after you do anything to them. So
Oh,
I wanted
okay.
to help other people learn too.
Yeah. So I saw you do offer like very one-on-one services. Can you talk about some of those services you offer there?
Yeah, for sure. I do in-home consultations where I'll go to people's house and go through their plant collection with them, no matter how, like small collections for beginners or people who want a little bit more of a, I don't know, creative eye to look at things and offer suggestions on both plant styling,
Mhm.
but more so the health of the plants. We
Right.
look at the directions your windows face, and I talk about other things to think about. Like if you've got air vents blowing on your plants, it's a bad idea. It will
Oh,
hurt them.
good to know.
Um, and I can definitely help people repot their plants as needed. So it's fun to do that in a one-on-one type environment because it gives me the chance to answer every single question someone has about their specific plants.
Okay, yeah. So, the former name for the Fort Wayne baseball team used to be the Wizards, and you might be a
Yeah.
wizard of plants because
Uh-huh.
I saw you have a option for people to bring their plants back to life. So, what kind of wizardry are you doing?
Plants definitely can feel like magic, especially like when you bring something back to life or propagation is
Yeah.
growing a new plant from a piece of an existing one, basically. That always is super satisfying and feels like magic.
Yeah.
But I I like to have people send me pictures like on social media, and then I
Mhm.
can kind of tell them if it's something that I can help with or not.
Yes.
But if I can help, I'll be like, bring it in, we'll repot it, we'll do this, we'll do that. Yeah, and I've got one right now. I repotted for someone, and I've got it in a super bright spot. I'm gonna hold on to it for a few weeks, so I know it's good to go before I let it go back home.
Oh, good. Yeah, I was going to ask how long do you usually hold a plant for? So a couple weeks it usually takes.
Yeah, 2, 3 weeks, depending on the situation, but like a generally healthy plant after repotting should be back to normal
Okay.
within 2 or 3 weeks for sure.
All right. What kind of plants do you offer in general at the store?
Yeah, so Fuller Plants is house plants. things that can be grown in your house year round in
Okay.
Indiana. So
Okay.
lots of like snake plants are great, pothos and philodendron. I do have some things that need a little bit of extra attention, so less beginner friendly, but still approachable given the right attitude, you know?
Okay. Yeah, for sure. All right. So this podcast is about road tripping to different cities and visiting ballparks. A lot of us drive, so I assume most of your plants could travel in the car with us, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
And
Now,
if it were
some.
something that could get burnt by the sun, I would
Mhm.
tell you I put everything in like recycled brown paper bags.
Oh, okay.
So it would be kind of covered from the sun. Or maybe in the summer, if it's too hot, I would just say not to leave it in the car with the windows up.
Oh, okay. So for some of us, we do fly, and which that would be something I would do if I came to Fort Wayne.
Yeah.
Are there types of plants I could take back on the plane with me, or is that one of the reasons why I'm a plant killer? Because they don't belong on planes.
Well, I've taken plants on a plane before.
Okay.
I've brought small. It's you can't really take a big plant on a
Mhm.
plane, but I've taken small plants in like a 4-inch size pot in maybe like it needs to be in your carry-on or the your purse or backpack, so it has
Okay.
to be relatively small, but I've done it, so I would say it can be done for
It
sure.
can be. Okay. Awesome. And so what kind of plant could I take on the plane then that would survive?
The one I took was a Hoya and a philodendron.
Okay.
So actually two different plants, but Hoya are pretty hardy and strong,
Mhm.
and philodendron are tropical, pretty. Uh, they're chill plants.
Okay.
So those were ones I knew that even if they had a leaf snapped off, or even if the plant itself broke in half, I'd be able to do something with it still.
Okay, so those names are foreign to me, but for our viewers, they'll be able to see them. I do put pictures up of all these things that the guests talk about, so they'll know what you're
Yeah.
talking about because I don't. Those
Yeah,
are
philodendron is a species of like a lot of different plants,
oh, okay,
and Hoya is another species, and mostly grown for their flowers. So if you Google Hoya, make sure you look up some of their flowers. They're absolutely beautiful, and that's
okay,
why a lot of people get into collecting that type of plant.
gotcha. I'm trying to think of now. Do you do terrariums?
Absolutely, we
Oh,
love
really?
them.
Yes.
Yeah. And my husband, I kind of say that he's my terrarium guy, as
Oh,
we offer classes occasionally in the shop, and he will often lead the terrarium class.
that's
I've
cool.
got half a dozen at least in my house, and they're just a fun, different way to do
Yeah.
things, and definitely less maintenance. It can kind of be set up and left to do its own thing, and
So I would be a great candidate for a terrarium.
absolutely.
Yes.
I was thinking you could something you can be away from for days, weeks at a time once it's established. Yeah.
That's awesome. So then, is that something you can take on a plane back home?
If you could make sure it stayed upright so
Ah,
that the contents didn't get tipped, it's
yes.
kind of layered a little bit, but
Okay.
so that would be the only thing with that one.
Okay. All right, Jessica, one more question for you. If I did want a plant to thrive, me personally, what's one plant you would recommend for me to buy?
My favorite plant for first-time plant parents is any type of pothos. Specifically, the golden pothos would be my number one recommendation. They're
Okay.
beautiful. They're basic, but I mean that as a compliment because they're
Mhm.
easy. They communicate when they're thirsty, and they grow fast enough that they'll give you some positive reinforcement that you're doing the right thing with it.
All right. Well, that
Yeah.
sounds perfect for me. Well, Jessica, I really enjoy featuring different places for this segment, and I always learn a lot. And so I want to thank you for coming on and talking about Fuller plants. If people
Yeah,
wanted to
thank you
find
so
you,
much.
yeah, if they wanted to find you online or come to the physical location, where can they find you?
We are maybe 10 minutes from the TinCaps Stadium, so
Mhm.
a little bit outside of downtown. We're
Okay.
on East State Boulevard, right next to the library on East State. The address is 1415 East State Boulevard. And our website is fullerplantsllc.com.
All right. And then are you on social media as well?
Absolutely. Facebook, Fuller Plants. Instagram is at Fuller Plants. And I'm on TikTok at Fuller Plants as well. That one's a little bit less professional, fair warning, but lots of fun.
Yes, that's how I found you on TikTok, and I did see you on Instagram as well. And like I told you before we recorded, you are probably one of the top people for Fort Wayne. So all you have to do is look up.
That's so cool to hear. Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome very much. So yeah, if you guys even just type in Fort Wayne, Fuller Plants will certainly come up. Well, I thank you again so much for coming on, and I hope you continue to fulfill your business dreams and have much success.
Absolutely. Yes. Thank you. Have a good day.
You're welcome. Have a good one. All right. That's going to do it for this week's episode. I hope you enjoyed that one. I want to thank once again John, Logan, and Jessica for coming on the show. I really do appreciate it. I learned a lot from each of you. Please go give them a follow. Please check out Old Fort Baseball Co. online. And if you're in town, check out Fuller Plants. As I always say, I really try to support small businesses because I think they deserve it. And if you get a chance, swing by Minor League Fan Club on YouTube, on TikTok, on Instagram, on X. I'm on all of them. Give a follow, a like, a reshare, a retweet, whatever you want to call it. I appreciate it all. Thank you for listening. And if you get a chance, give the podcast a rating. Appreciate that as well. All right. Until next time, I will see you all later. And this is where I need a catchphrase. But until then, we really knocked that one out the park.